Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Becoming More Me. I am bringing you one of my mentors and coaches this week, Dan Harrison from the Soulful Sales Company. And I'm super excited to introduce you to him. And this conversation went in so many different directions, but I think it really will give you a great idea of who Dan is, what he does, who he serves, and a really good idea of the passion that he has about all the things that he does and the vision that he has for the future. He brings so much to the table with his years of work with finance and sales coaching and the obstacles that he's personally overcome. I mean, we're talking paying off over $500,000 in debt that he came into when he was only making a very small hourly wage, and how he just kind of really got gritty and figured out what mattered and transformed his life and continues to do so, trying to become this 10.0 version of himself. And this is going to be a conversation that is spiritual, a little bit woo, a bit techie and geeky, and really hopefully very inspiring to all of you entrepreneurs that are looking to level up in your lives, personally and in business. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey, everybody, and welcome, Dan. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I always love to dive in instead of talking about the work and all that kind of stuff to like get to know you on a more personal level. And I would love it if you could just tell us more about where you live, who you spend your time with, what you love to do, any hobbies when you're not like working like crazy, which I know you are right now. So what else is going on?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so I'm in Canada. We're in Kelowna, BC, a couple hours north of Vancouver. It's cold here. We got some snow out the window. Uh, I live here with my wife and my two daughters, who are turning 5 and 1 next month. And I mean, when I'm in my most ideal self and like lifestyle, I'm wake surfing, I'm snowboarding, I'm playing guitar, I'm traveling. Um, but mostly like on the day to day, it's like I'm waking up in the parent mode. I'm changing diapers. I'm working out downstairs with a baby in one arm. And just yeah, I'm in a good season of life, hanging with the family, small town Canada, doing my thing.
Absolutely. I love that. And I know you and I are both early risers. I'm
Hmm.
sure that's partially because of kids and partially because of, all the things that we want to get out of our time and our day. I
Totally.
think I saw recently you're getting up at like 3 a.m. to train for an
Yeah,
Ironman now.
that's right. Yes. Yeah, we do. Yeah, 3 to 4 a.m. has become my regular. I also go to bed with my kids at like 8. So,
Yeah, me
um,
too. It's yeah, eight
yep.
to nine is like my sweet spot for like getting to bed. And I'm normally a little bit later, although I'm normally up around 3, but not normally out of bed until 4.
Uh,
But that's
yeah.
like when I do like self-hypnosis and
Mhm.
visualization and all those things like in bed before I get up. So I'm still like working on things. And I know you work in similar ways with projecting things.
100%. I do the exact same thing. I'm just like 20 steps. We have like a sauna and a cold plunge. And so I just like drag my butt out of bed to go sit in a sauna and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Visualize, meditation, got the vision board. Yeah.
Yeah. But that
Same.
early bedtime is crucial.
100%.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, Dan and I have been working together for like the last year and a half. He
Yeah.
is my sales coach, my business coach. And, I got to say, I have never felt compelled to bring any of my sales and business coaches on my podcast. So, that says a lot. I think it also speaks to a lot of what you talk about from time to time about, everybody's been burned by a coach at some point or another.
100%.
And
Yes.
while I learned plenty of things, we also talk about this a lot, getting something out of it, whether it sucks or not.
Yep.
I felt very aligned in inviting you to come on today because it's been such a beneficial relationship.
Totally. Yeah. I love it. I mean, uh, I've said not all my friends are clients, but all my clients are friends. And yeah, like I feel that, and yeah, it's been great working with you and seeing you produce amazing things like the book out into the world and your program. And I mean, it's yeah, my I feel very I like sometimes pinch myself. I'm like, of all the things, like how I ended up here, that this gets to be my work and my day to day of just like working with awesome people, helping and supporting and witnessing them create beautiful things. It's like, I must have done something right, maybe in a past life or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've overcome a lot of adversity, it
True.
seems, in, what I know about your story, and maybe you can share a little bit more of that. But I mean,
Yeah.
you faced some significant challenges early on with, career and debt and a bunch of other things. So, like, what are some of
Hmm.
those things that you had to overcome, and how did those experiences shape your approach to business and coaching?
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to my wife about this the other night, and it was like, um, it's a wild thing. And I was thinking back to when I was like in my early, like 19, 20, and I've always been like a dreamer, like big, big dreams, big vision. And
We're both Geminis, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yep. Okay.
I'm a Taurus Gemini. Yeah, depends Vedic or Western. I got both. But um yeah, and then I've just it's interesting. So I mean the long story short is I went $500,000 in debt at 20 when I was a server making $8 an hour with no skills, no clue what to do. And that was like my foray into business, entrepreneurship, and just like personal development, scrambling with what the F do I do now? Um, and mostly uh, like what's interesting looking back now is when you like you pray for something or you like put something out into the world like, oh, I'd like to have this or be, I wasn't thinking be, I was just like, oh, I'd like to have lots of money back then. um and I feel like God or the universe is like, oh, okay, you want that, you want those big dreams, oh, okay, let me give you 20 years of struggle so you might become the person who can actually hold on to, maintain, like experience, receive those things that you desire. And so I really feel like, yeah, grateful because it's been like a long journey. And if you just imagine how like I feel like I started behind the eight ball for like a lot of years with $500,000 of debt, no skills, making $8 an hour, and then having to figure out how to navigate that to now, yeah, being debt free, having skill sets that like I don't really have to worry about money, um, and and most importantly is like through that whole process, I became somebody that I'm like proud of. So
Yeah. And I mean, this
yeah,
show is all about becoming more me. So I always
right.
love to hear about the things that have helped you to become more of the person that you feel called to be in this life. And it sounds like
Totally.
that has been a pivotal experience in that.
Yeah, I'd say like the main one. That that's like that the older I get, it's more, the more I realize like that's the whole point of this thing, that we're calling life is to become more of that self. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you take a lot of inspiration from like A Course in Miracles and things like
Mhm.
that. How did that influence your personal and professional life, especially like during that time of adversity?
Yeah, super interesting story. So, when I was like part of how so I used to be a financial planner. I was a certified financial planner, and I got into that because I was in the bank so much trying to not go bankrupt that they're like, "Hey, you should work for us." Um, okay, sure. And I was like a traveling insurance salesman, and I learned the ropes, and then I started to like train people. And there was this one guy, John Charles Brom. And he came in, he's like 6'5", kind of looked like an alien, shaved head, and just like this wise old soul. And I'm mentoring him. Like I'm showing him how to do this sales thing. And meanwhile, and so we're like traveling around, and he's like, "Hey, have you heard of Wayne Dyer before?" I was like, "No, who's that?" And it's like, Oh, okay. And just like casually started to drop like these like little clues and little hints. He dropped the book A Course in Miracles, and that was my first introduction to it. And and that was when I was maybe like 22. And something initially I wasn't ready for it. I was like, this is blasphemy. I had like some Christian upbringing, so I was like, oh, this is just sacrilegious. And then it like found me again a couple years later, and I couldn't put it down. And then it's just become the foundational book that very simply, um, I come back to all the time. And the core messages that I always like call on is just um, like the world that I see is not as I see it, and that forgiveness and surrender is the pathway to see how things really are. And so yeah, it's been a beautiful friend, beautiful book, an access point to a divine consciousness. And yeah, and really one last thing about A Course in Miracles, which is really cool. There's two guys, Aaron Apke and Mark Anthony Lord, and they have I've been in their programs or watching them for years, and it's like I actually watched them every morning for like a year. And then a couple years later, I am like working with them, helping them to build their business.
Oh,
Like
neat.
you're just like, how does that come together? But that's law of
Just
attraction at
bringing
its
the
work.
circle back around. Just
Totally. Uh, and so to be able to like now be able to work with people who are and like yourself who are like sharing this wisdom, sharing this work, and to help to amplify that is like ah,
breath of fresh
great.
air.
Yeah, just like grateful. Yeah.
I love that. So we'll get back to some more woo things in a little bit, but let's talk business for a little bit. I'd
Totally.
love to hear about, founding the Soulful Sales Company, like what brought you to that moment, and tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about the company.
Sure. Yeah. So 2016, I quit corporate. I saw like the real underbelly of finance, and could see just how structurally it's set up to essentially like oppress people if you're ignorant to how the system works. And so I was like, and the very people that I'm like serving. Um, and so I quit. I went online. I started to do just like my own thing. I had to let go of my designations. And I built a money coaching business. And I did that from 2016 to 2019. And I actually built that with a monthly recurring revenue model,
Okay.
which has kind of come full circle.
And
The
what kind
reason
of
that's
people were you
important,
working with in that business?
yeah, that was the two types of, I was doing mostly like fee only financial planning. So I worked with entrepreneurs. Um, and yeah. And so I would always tell people, look, there's only four things I can do to help you have more money. I can help you grow your income, cut your expenses, grow your assets, cut your liabilities. That's it. And if I do one of those, your net worth will expand. If I do all four of those, it will expand exponentially. Um, and eventually, I just realized of all of those four things, the one that I'm best at, the one that I'm good at, and I enjoy the most is helping people grow their income. So that was really you could call that the first niching, where going into like I'm an expert in this. I'm going to help people with that. And so I sold that business because it had a monthly recurring model. And that allowed me to pay off like a good amount of debt. So starting to get some like freedom around it. And then in
Did you sell it with
29,
another business in mind that you were going to start?
no, kind of. It was like I just sold it I saw that as an opportunity to have a big lump sum and pay off some of the debt. And literally I just spent 15 years like fighting to get back to zero. So it was like, there's an opportunity. So that was kind of like a first big headwind. And then my wife had just finished. She used to be an RN when we met. She went back to school. I'm a, follow your dreams kind of dude. So I was like, if you don't like that, let's go back and do something. She's a brilliant writer. She's a brilliant psychotherapist. She went back to school, became a therapist.
Nice.
And then as she was coming into her practice, she was like looking at working with all the different clinics, and she would bring me back the contracts that they were offering her. And I was like, these are brutal. Um, is this the system for health practitioners? Like you give away 50% of your income for a little tiny office space, and it's like, and you have to work in person. And I was just like, why don't you just start your own private practice? And she's like, I don't know how. I was like, I'll help you. We'll build a website, like make an offer, do it this way. And she did. And so she was technically, I would say, my first client. Um, and then I realized, like for Soulful Sales, and then I realized, like, oh man, the whole health industry, therapists, chiropractors, naturopaths, like my people, are stuck in a really old model that was similar to finance in a lot of ways. And so I started working with health practitioners, health professionals. I'm, passionate, interested about health. And yeah, and then it just kind of started from there, and we grew, and basically everything that I'd learned when I transitioned online had now become the business model. So helping people develop offers, marketing campaigns, ads, funnels, sales. And then with my experience in finance, I also find I have a unique lens in terms of like the numbers speak to me. So I can see things that are often helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, you emphasize soulful selling, with that being the name of the company,
Totally.
as like a key component and part of your method. So, how do you
Mhm.
define that, and how
Mhm.
can sales professionals, coaches, such and such,
Yeah.
um, sell in a way that feels authentic and not pushy?
Yeah. It comes from spending 15 years in finance and having the exact opposite experience of like soulful sales. And on a fundamental level, it would be like, do you put the person first or do you put the profit first? And and then I think it's like a remembering that so if I had to, you know, there's a bigger game being played than just business. And if you approach business from with a remembering that you're like a soul here incarnate on a planet, able to connect with people, and the point is serving them as if you are like as if you're one, um, then it's very easy to know like how to help them. There's no manipulation, there's no like trying to get, and really that was like the biggest unlock for me around finances, getting out of debt, like the soulful sales philosophy is really the shift from trying to get to trying to give. And it seems simple, but it's like if you really look in your mind, you will see how much we've been programmed to try and get, and in lots of little insidious ways. And so if by like undoing that and flipping it towards one that is literally just trying to give, um, it changes everything. The energy when you approach people, like people can feel it. It's also like one of the big things that people get stumped on with sales is like, uh, it's like anytime they're trying to move like I don't want to talk to somebody, or I don't want to follow up, or I don't want to feel pushy or salesy, or like everybody always says that. It's like if you say that, it's obvious that you are more focused on yourself than the other person.
Right.
And then it's like, so that's the work. And so last thing about soulful sales is that it also has the lens that selling is a spiritual practice. It's like a relational practice. Uh, and when you approach it that way, sales, entrepreneurship can become a beautiful container for spiritual growth, evolution. And yeah, so that's the kind of bigger idea, I guess, of soulful sales.
Yeah, and it definitely is. I mean, I feel like I've grown in more ways than just, being better at selling in business and working with
Totally.
you. And I love all the different ways that you kind of like bring that in. Um, it was just a couple months ago that you were off to Peru and you were,
Yes.
doing some things to expand your mind in different ways
Uh-huh.
too. I would love to hear more about your plant medicine journey. And
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of know what you brought back to us from it, but I would love for you to share
Yeah.
more about that because I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I would love to. Thanks for asking. So I'd never done ayahuasca before. I've been it's been like in my awareness for probably 10 years. But early on someone told me like you'll know when and don't force it. Don't like when you're ready and Mama Aya's ready, like you'll know when to go. And I've had so many invitations, but it's just never like aligned. And then this one, for whatever reason, it was like this is the one. Okay, like I'm going. And it was an opportunity to go to Peru with my men's group, with like in a very small village. It's like you land in Peru, and we went 4 hours up the Amazon River into like a ditch, basically. It's it looked like a ditch. And and it turns out it's like this swampy land, and you end up like it kind of clears open, and there's like a village in here. It's like people have never left this spot. Like this is where the one of the guys that was there is like, this is the tree that I was born at. You're
Wow.
like, no yeah, it's wild. And felt authentic. And there's so many beautiful lessons, but one thing that comes to mind right now is was really present to there's like the medicine, and then there's the Icaros, and it's like the music that the shamans are singing that's activating with the plant medicine. And as they're, you're sitting in this Malacca, it's dark, you can't see anything, and wondering like, I just took the drink. I'm like, what is going to happen next? Like, I have no idea. And but they're singing, and it's this kind of beautiful chant, trance like, but it's like it's tribal and it's generational, and it's like that same sound has been passed down for like hundreds, if not thousands of years. And I felt like my ears were being blessed getting to like listen to it. And then it like takes you into, so just yeah, like really present to the ancientness of this like ceremony.
Yeah.
And then in it, I mean, words will never be able to like capture what was experienced, but it was hard, challenging. And I'll share one story that comes to mind. One of my intentions going into it was I would like to see myself uh, as a fully actualized version of Dan. Like, who's that? I would like to see that version. And on the first night, we went for 3 nights, 3 ceremonies. There was these 3 doors appeared in a vision, and I was like, okay. And so I opened the first door, and there was a lion, and at this particular moment, it was like, so I'm like, this is my spirit animal. What is this? I'm like, I'm just like kind of interacting with this lion. And then I get up, and I'm kind of like I would call it like a lion pose. And I'm fists in the ground, and I'm on my mat. And it's in the Amazon. So it's raining, it's thunder, it's lightning, it's chaos. There's animals dying in the wilderness right there. And right next to me, there's some guy puking like demons out of his body. And then there's, a woman over on the other side who's having some sort of orgasmic, ecstatic experience. And I am sitting here looking out into the wild, crazy jungle that is, as an embodied lion. And and like, what is happening? But what it was is like this, you're like, you're a king. It's like you're a king, and you're able to be with the full spectrum of life in your remembering that you're a king. And it was like, okay. And the sickness, the joy, the chaos, all of it can happen. And it's like, but I'm solid as a rock, as a king. And so that was like the first door. And the two other doors wouldn't open. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay. And basically the message was like,
Were
you're
your
not ready
lion
for.
paws just getting in the way?
Yeah, they're like, ah, can't turn this doorknob. Um, the message was clear. It was like, you're not ready for the other two doors. And then on the last night, um, the three doors appeared again. The first door was open. And but my mom and my dad were blocking the doors. And I realized like right away, as soon as I could see them blocking the doors, I was like, oh shit. I wasn't really planning on doing that work here. Um, and I was like, and I knew it was like, okay, there's like something. And I was like, I'm not ready for it yet. And it was like a trembling experience, like because I knew that if I leaned into it, and I had to lean into it, it was like the whole family system, the whole construct of who Dan is through their lens, like the family system was like shaking and and necessary to crumble in order to see what I
That full
intended,
potential that you were looking
the
for.
full potential. And so with I won't go into the whole stories, but it was basically like I had to do some deep healing work with my mom, with my dad, with my family, and I could see the whole context um, that I'd been raised in and the family system. There was like tremendous healing that had happened. And really what happened is I was able to see it for what it was and um, and basically be disconnected from it. Cut cords that weren't mine. I could um, transcend it. I could see it. And then in that moment, there was like I could see myself as I am, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And it was like I cried, and I could see it. I could see the Dan and the whole story of Dan, like a little character, in high school and doing his thing. And I had so much love and gratitude for him. And I was like, man, look at that guy go. But
Aw.
I was in a seat of consciousness as a truly an observer. And in that moment, I was like, I loved myself fully. I could see myself as the infinite possibility that I am. I could just choose and be. And it was like uh, an incredible experience. And
Yeah.
so, and all of that is great. And I think one thing that I'll just mention around like plant medicine stuff is that's an insight. And the insight is like where the work begins. And so the
Right.
real coming, that's cool and it's a great experience. And I realize that then you come back into the real world and really the work is now. And so it's like how do
Yeah.
you bring that remembering into every moment in your day with that awareness and and navigate the nervous system and all the triggers and all the stuff because it's all still there,
Right.
but you now have a new I have a new space to approach the work from, and
Right. A new
it's
lens.
a new lens, and it's it's amazing. Yeah.
Was it challenging to come back home to your wife and your daughters after that?
Yeah. What was interesting is the conversation that we had was like, I'm going, uh, in a lot of ways, our whole family did ayahuasca. Because we're like a unit. And so by me going, it actually called my wife to look at some stuff at, my daughters as well, like without knowing it. But it's like once it's like, and then coming back is sharing that, the insights with them. And yeah, there's certainly an ongoing integration process with them. But really what happened is like I was just wide open and I was able to like love my wife in a new way. I was able to um, be with my kids in a new way. And I think like one major lesson, kind of tying this together to a 20-year journey of getting out of debt, of like, focusing on getting money, and all of that, and
Mhm.
coming back to, if I had to put it into an Instagram quote card, the ayahuasca experience, it's simply that presence is and has been and always will be the abundance that I seek.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
so when there is the opportunity to be with the kids and play with the kids, and the story is I've got to go to work because I've got to, do something, it's like you already have it. You're already rich. You're rich in the moment. Get present. And yeah, so that's been one of, a beautiful token that I get to pull back
That's
from that
awesome.
experience. Yeah.
It's all beautiful. I'm curious, in a community like you went to in Peru, how often do like the native people there partake in like plant medicine
Yeah.
ceremonies?
So there's a we Papa Julio, I think is his name, but it's like a Grand Master, and it's like his lineage is in this community, and um, and so when you know that you're going to be a shaman, like that, just mostly because it's like in the lineage, you'll typically have your first ceremony as early as like 8 or 9, and then because it's like a primary healing, it's medicine. So uh, the shamans are doing this monthly at least, if not more. But it's like it's just common. It's like
Mhm.
it's a very common thing. Monthly, maybe, some people probably 6 months, but um, mostly it's like when something comes up for them uh, that requires healing, they'll go to have a ceremony, and they're so in tune. Like, this is the thing. Anything that, like, if you're sick, if you have a stomach ache, or you eat something weird, or a weird animal bites you, it's like they know the plant to use. Ayahuasca is like one,
Right.
but you do it with, they have like a whole bunch of these, and uh, like one thing that I thought was like wild, that kind of represents how in tune with nature as a totally different way of life than like most Western cultures, is like they live in the Amazon, right? And they have rainy season, and they know where, how high the water is going to rise weeks or months before it happens, because of the snails. So they're able to see where the snails lay their eggs,
Okay.
and and as like the snails know how high the water is going to rise, and that's where the line is. And every year the snails will lay their eggs, and they'll see, like, some years will be like way up high, like, oh shit, and like, and then they'll make, based on where snails lay their eggs, they like change their whole city, their whole little village, and they'll move things back as like water's coming. Like,
There's intelligence in everything.
totally. And there, yeah, it's just like tapped in and into that whole, there's a whole world that is there that's like not too dissimilar. Yeah, it's like it's all subconscious plants. It's like the connectedness of it. It's a beautiful thing.
That's really cool. Snails. Who'da thunk it?
Yeah, snail.
So, what are you like really excited about right now in your life and your business?
Yeah, right now, the thing that has me in this particular moment, I very much feel like um, I'm genuinely surprised day by day what is unfolding before me. Um, right now, in this moment, we are competing in something called the School Games. And there's a very good shot that we're going to place. And if we do, I'm going to get to meet some of my, uh, um, mentors, and let's call
Yeah.
them, people that I've looked up to for years and
Dan's
have
gonna
like
be
changed.
fangirling, is what it comes down to.
I'm 100% going to be fangirling. Yeah. Sign my shirt.
It'll be great.
uh, yeah, I'm totally gonna do that. But yeah, Alex Hormozy, Sam Ovens, and that's really cool. And it feels like there's so many synchronistic partnerships and collaborations, and the clients who are coming in. We've launched a podcast. I'm just like in a season of awesome momentum.
Yeah.
Uh,
When you get
that
that, you gotta hold on to it and go for a ride.
totally. Yep. And so I'm just like, I'm in it. I feel on purpose. I feel on fire. I'm divinely led. The people around me are awesome. We have a great team. Our company is rocking. Our clients are rocking. Um, and
Yeah, for anybody that
yeah,
didn't catch last week's podcast, I had Alexander Ohm, a partner here at Soulful Sales,
amazing.
on
Yes,
the show also. So if you enjoyed this episode, definitely check out that one too, because that's a big
totally.
part of the energy of the business as well.
100%. I'm like he's a best friend and business partner and um in
How did the
human
two of you meet
design.
originally? I should have asked him that, but
Yeah.
what brought you guys together originally?
When I first moved to Kelowna, where we live right now, I went into a marketing firm trying to get help marketing my money coaching business. And they quoted me some astronomical price. It was like this is going to be like 70 grand or something. And at
Whew.
the time, I was only making six figures. So I was like,
Yeah.
this makes no sense. Um, it's like, yeah, but it's for the year. I'm like, that still doesn't make any sense. And so, um, anyways, he was in there as a content writer and he had a man bun. I had a man bun. Probably the only people with man buns in Kelowna at the time. And we're like, hey, just like kind of like a nod as we were walking by. And then, yeah, kind of like a couple serendipitous, moments. And we ended up meeting the one other guy in Kelowna with a man bun. So there's three of us. And, and we all started talking and we actually launched we're like, yeah, these guys are ripping people off. We're going to do our own marketing company. And that was before we really knew what we were doing. But we launched that and so we became fast friends there for a little while. That dissolved. I launched Soulful Sales Company. He went and worked with some really great companies and learned a bunch. And then we kind of circled back and I
And did the other
brought
guy
him.
just cut off his bun?
The other guy did cut off his bun, so it
See,
was
that's
just not
out of
going to
it.
work for
You
us.
can't
Yeah,
stay. Okay.
yeah, just wasn't going to work. So,
So you went your
uh,
separate
so
ways for a bit.
so we went our separate ways. Yep, and I launched, founded Soulful Sales, and then we'd always like done things collaboratively, but it kind of came back full circle. And yeah, he's such a huge um, space holder, an excellent coach. He great content copywriter, brings so much to our. Every day, I get messages from our clients who are like, "I had this call with Alexander, completely reframed the way I was looking at things." So he's like a huge blessing and amazing business partner, great friend. It's like that's another thing that I think is really unique, where we get to build the business like together.
Yeah.
Is there anything like greater in, when you're building like entrepreneurship with your best bros, and amazing clients? It's yeah, again, just blessed, grateful. Yeah.
Very cool. So then how about like the future? Where do you see all of this going in the next 5 to 10 years, and what impact do you hope to have on the industry? I know you are one to think ahead and visualize, so
Totally.
spill it.
Yeah. Let me just check my vision board here.
It probably is right there.
It is Never far away.
Nope.
Um, yeah, I mean, so the vision that I'm like moving into is there's like the personal stuff. When I think of like why I'm doing everything, it's like for my kids, we want to be able to live a life where we're free. And so a lot of that looks like buying land, being self-sustaining, homeschooling, um, you know, being able to travel. We do have Mexican residency. Um, so like yeah, just like creating a lifestyle like a sovereign life. Yeah, acreage, some horses, that kind of jam. Uh, in terms of like the impact, the way I would see it is I don't know. Um, I'm literally just, I feel like my role in this space is to become the like 10.0, 20.0 version of Dan, and then share that version with the world as it evolves. And my hope would be that we would transform the way sales is thought of, that we would create a new way for everyday health professionals and practitioners to create freedom of their own, and ultimately build communities where people get to connect online, in person, and uh, and together, you know, evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
beautiful. And I think you're there to also help other people become that 10.0 version too,
Totally.
and bring them
Yeah.
along for that also. So I know
100%.
you love tech and numbers and all that geeky
Ah,
stuff,
yeah.
and I love that you love it because I don't. Um,
Mm.
so what are some of your favorite like things to help people like do business faster, smarter, better right now?
Yeah, great. So we have like there's kind of like four tech things that I'm like I use every day. They're the crux of our whole business. One of them is the school platform, uh, which we were like a very early adopter on that platform. I think probably when you came in, we were already on school, maybe just
Yes, you
about.
were, and I got on there
Yeah.
very shortly after, so people that are listening
Yeah.
know because they're in my community on there. That's school.
Totally. Yeah. So school has just been a great, I love that platform. It's like where I spend most of my time. I'm not really on social media much. I'm like in my community and hanging out and talking with people in there. So that would be number one. It's like simple and intuitive and it's like feels good. The other one is so uh, we like built an AI bot. And we
And
built
they're
that
helping
in
me build
Jan.
mine. I mentioned this on the
Heck
episode with
yeah.
Alexander, but like a couple episodes ago, I did a solo episode talking about all the ways I'm up leveling my business and the things I'm
Ah,
changing.
nice.
And if you heard that one and you're curious about that AI bot, this is the guy who's helping me do it.
By the time this comes out, DM Theresa becoming and have
See
a
what
chat
happens.
conversation. Yeah, see what happens.
He's gonna make me get
Uh,
my button gear really quick.
yeah, totally. Uh, But it's such a wild thing. We've had that bot going for a year now, and the bot, it's a machine learning. So it like you train it, it starts to talk like you, uh, and so a lot of our Instagram messages are handled by an AI bot, and it's able to help people, direct people to links, like book calls for me. Um,
And the thing people always
no.
ask me is like, do people know they're talking to a bot? And that's yes,
Oh,
they do.
totally. Yeah.
So you are
Yeah, I feel
informed.
like
You'll know if you're talking to me or if you're talking to my bot.
yes. I think that there's like a lot of yeah, like ethical practices will become mm, like a whole conversation as AI becomes infiltrating through everything. But
Yeah,
yeah, for us, it's like you acknowledge when it's AI, acknowledge when it's myself. My VA is managing messages as well, so she
sure.
says, if she's doing it. Um, but yeah, that one, and then I mean, there's actually like so many little like chat GPT softwares, but we actually white labeled our own version of Go High Level, and it's called Avocado AI. And we don't sell it like publicly. It's just for our community members. And and inside of there, we're always like adding features, and it's kind of like a cool little sandbox playground. Um, we've got like AI things that can build out emails and video sales letters and
Yeah.
all the marketing stuff. So I nerd out on all that. And
Hmm.
yeah,
And we all benefit from your nerding out on it because there's always
yeah,
like great assets in there to use and to build and to customize for our own businesses. So it's awesome.
I'm I'm so grateful that my nerdiness has found a useful outlet.
I'm a total nerd too. Just I nerd out on other things. So
That's why we get
we have to find
along. That's why
complementary nerds so that we don't all have to do all the work, right?
totally. Yes.
I love it. How can people find you? How can they, learn more about working with you and becoming more
Yeah.
soulful in their selling?
Yeah. Easiest way. So on Instagram at the Dan Harrison is where all my profiles are. And then our kind of like main offer program community, really, we have a free community, and then we have like our core community for health coaches and health pros. And so, yeah, our free community, we give away lots of resources and courses, and then the New Earth Health Coach is our paid community. And so, yeah, free, great, lots of free stuff on Instagram. We have a whole free community, and then our paid community is New Earth Health Coaches. Those would be the three.
Awesome. I'll make sure
Yeah.
all that is in the show notes for people that want to check it out. I'd love to end this with perhaps a little advice for aspiring entrepreneurs, aspiring health coaches. What would you tell someone like that who wants to make a significant impact or difference, but are currently feel like they're facing some challenges or setbacks?
Mm.
Because I feel like that's probably how most people come to you.
Yeah.
I know I
Yeah, it
did.
is. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, some, I mean, the thing that is there is like, if you have a vision, if you have like a dream, if you have a like a goal, a stirring in your soul
Mm.
that is like move, that's like go this direction, a whisper even. And people think you're crazy, or you even think yourself you're crazy. It's like, I promise you that journey is worth it, and it will be hard, and you have to like hold on to the vision because it will be like up and down and all around. But if you go on that journey and you approach it with a lens of like self-reflection and introspection and continual self-development to become the 10.0 version of yourself, you will look back in a few years, not 15 or 20 like me. It doesn't take like, but like a few years of concerted effort in that direction, and you'll be unrecognizable. And your situation around you will transform, and and it's going to require like work. Uh, and so,
Really?
yeah, the easy, the quick, the 90
The
day.
easy button,
Don't
no.
don't fall for the marketing gurus
Absolutely. The
tricks.
work's
It's
worth it.
like,
I mean, I think the work is what we have to really fall in love with in order to get the
yes,
outcomes that we want, you know.
that
And I think that's
right
one of the
there.
biggest problems.
That's the gem. That's the mic drop. Because if you can love the process, then you win.
Right.
If you can love the process, you win. Uh, yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Grateful for you, Theresa Lear Levine.
Grateful for you too, Dan Harrison. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
being here and talking with us. And for all of you listening, I know you have like a million choices when you choose to listen to a podcast. So I'm so grateful that you choose to listen to Becoming More Me. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.